Short-term rentals are absolutely destroying the market, and to the point that the BC government just did something about it. If you didn't hear the news, the BC government just introduced something called the Short-Term Rental Accommodations Act. 100% aimed at destroying the cash cow that is short-term rentals or Airbnb properties. Nothing specific to Airbnb. VRBO, whatever they are called. Short-term rentals are a huge problem. Today's video is all about the changes that were made. We're going to look at how big this problem really is, and I'm going to leave you with a thought about whether you should even consider investing or buying or maybe even renting a short-term rental property anywhere in the province of British Columbia. So if that all sounds good, let's get into it. Hey, welcome back. It's Darren with the Germyn Group, a team of real estate professionals in the Surrey BC area. And look, you're on our YouTube channel and watching this video. We work really hard to bring you great content on a regular basis. So not only do I hope you enjoyed today's video, but you can say thank you to us by subscribing to this channel and supporting it. And in addition, if you did want to talk to me or anyone on my team about buying or selling a home in the area, we've left a link below where you can access our calendar directly and book time to speak right with us. Let's get in a little bit now to the purpose of these new rules and what they are and why were they even introduced. For a long time now, short-term rentals have been an incredible investment opportunity that produce so many things, even more so outside of just financial, that a normal rental property won't do. The cash flow tends to be absolutely incredible, but furthermore, you've also got the opportunity to actually use this property as a vacation home for yourself when it's not occupied by somebody for a short-term rental. The problem really is, though, is short-term rentals remove the housing stock from two groups of people, and those groups of people are home buyers and people that need to rent a home to live in. As you can imagine, residents of areas that have short-term rentals, whether it's a condo building, townhome building, or even a residential detached neighborhood, don't love their neighbors running short-term rentals out of them. The reasons for this are pretty obvious. You've got lots of additional traffic in maybe your building or neighborhood. You've got good time vacationers just looking to have fun and maybe don't necessarily respect the locals quite as much because they know they're not going to be here next week. And this also results in the loss of pride of ownership in a particular building, townhome, or residential neighborhood. Strata buildings are just complete revolving doors and much more resemble a hotel than they do a normal strata. Bylaws in the past have worked to restrict short-term rentals in many condo buildings, but if not introduced when the building is brand new, any bylaws enforced on short-term rentals after an original owner takes ownership doesn't apply to them because they're grandfathered into the original bylaws, which makes it incredibly problematic for anyone that is a secondary owner in a building that has these restrictions, but they have to live with all the problems that are created by short-term rentals. So in comes the BC government with the Short-Term Rentals Accommodation Act. This is defined as any rental that's being rented for less than 90 days and only applies in cities with over 10,000 people. Now, I know what you're thinking. Does Whistler, the Airbnb short-term rental capital of British Columbia, does the act apply here and will it be enforced? Sadly, the answer to that is no, it will not be. There's actually 14 resort communities throughout BC that will not be included in this act. And I'm not going to go through them all in this video, but I will leave them below in the description for you to check out. It's estimated in British Columbia that there's over 16,000 short-term rental properties that are effectively removing housing stock from the residents of British Columbia. And enforcement has been a huge issue for municipalities who have tried to address these short-term rentals, so they asked the province for some help. The purpose of the new rules is to give local governments bigger and stronger tools to enforce the rules on people within its municipalities. The new rules will apply to all short-term rentals being offered to the public, including offers hosted by a platform where people reserve and pay for the rental service, which may include, as an example, Airbnb, VRBO, Expedia, and Flipkey. Offers on other web listing forums, which may include Facebook, Marketplace, Kijiji, and Craigslist, will also have to abide by these new rules. The new rules are also removing a grandfathering clause in the Local Government Act, which allowed short-term rentals to continue operating under a legal non-conforming status because that was their previous use. In some of these exempt areas, local governments can actually choose to opt into the new rules, which will be applied to something like the principal residence requirement. This is similar to what the city of Vancouver has to do currently, and I'll touch on that more later on in this video. But effectively, you will only be able to offer a short-term rental in your principal residence. So this means if you have an extra room that's available to rent, or maybe you're leaving town for a couple weeks and you want to rent out your home to short-term vacationers, or perhaps you have a basement suite or a coach house on your property, these will all still be allowed to be short-term rentals. The province is also going to create a short-term rental registry. This will help ensure that short-term rental hosts and platforms are following the rules and provide local governments and the province the information needed to follow up when they don't. And hosts will be required to include a provincial registration number on their listings. They'll also have to include their business license number if a business license is required by the local government. Platforms will be required to validate the registration numbers on host listings against the province's registry data. The regulations and responsibilities under this new proposed act will come into effect in phases over the next 2 years. Immediately after receiving royal assent, there will be increased fines and tickets and business licensing requirements for regional districts. On May 1st of 2024, the principal residence requirement, including a definition of exempt areas or accommodations and changes to legal non-conforming use protections will take effect. In the summer of 2024, there will be data sharing, and in late 2024, you will see a provincial registry launch requiring platforms to remove listings without valid provincial registry numbers. This probably isn't going to be a made in BC thing either. And in fact, I guess a lot of stuff is kind of made in BC because of our ongoing housing crunch that we've had for quite some time. But the federal government's paying attention to this as well. This new proposal received a big endorsement from the Minister of Finance and Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland, who says the federal government is following suit. She quotes, "I also want to quickly address the BC government's new legislation to regulate the short-term rental market. It is a positive and important step in the right direction in an area of provincial jurisdiction." So even though short-term rentals are within provincial jurisdiction, the federal government is paying attention and trying to figure out ways how they can also deal and help the provinces deal with short-term rentals. So is it risky to buy a short-term rental property for investment purposes? Well, absolutely it is. Earlier on in the video, I had mentioned Vancouver and what the city of Vancouver has done with short-term rentals. Effectively, they put in a rule very similar to the one the BC government is proposing, where you can really only have a short-term rental in your primary residence. This means that you can no longer buy a condominium and keep it as a short-term rental. It has to be your primary residence. Short-term rentals are also kind of risky as an investment because they once used to be a little bit of a novelty to most people. And as they've grown in popularity, the competition for short-term rentals has been growing steadily. They may not be quite as lucrative financially as they once were. Now that we know the province can impose rules like this, and these rules are likely coming, this also makes staying in a short-term rental as a vacationer a little more risky, just in case the province cracks down on the property that you're renting prior to your holiday. And look, it's always been risky to have a short-term rental as an investment. Going back to Whistler, which again is not included, there is hotels absolutely everywhere, and those hotels are built to house many, many people, take the traffic of all the vehicles of those people, have restaurants within walking distance for all those people. This is something that short-term rentals are not really designed to do. However, the alluring thing of a short-term rental is getting deposited right into the middle of a community and getting to experience that community just like the locals would. So is this going to have a massive impact on the market, make homes more affordable for home buyers, open up options for home buyers and people to buy as investments for long-term renters? Well, absolutely it is. With an estimated 16,000 units that will come back to the market as a result of eliminating the short-term rental availability, there's no doubt that having an additional 16,000 homes back to the market will have a significant impact on bringing some much-needed supply back to the market for home buyers that have been desperately looking for a place to call home. Now that you know what's going on with short-term rentals, I'm really curious what you think, and I'd really love you to leave your comment below. Do you think this is a good plan by the BC government? Do you think this is going to help with the housing crisis and effectively add a lot more stock back to the market? And will it have any effect on housing prices? And actually, the one I'm most interested in that I think most of us probably watching this video can attest to is, does it give you any concern when you're vacationing anywhere in British Columbia about your short-term rental that you might book well in advance and whether you're going to have some problems with it in the future? Leave your comment below. And while you're down there in the description, be sure to check out some of the free collateral that we have available for home buyers and home sellers, all designed to help you be more successful in whatever endeavor you are proceeding with. Hey, look, I want to thank you for watching this video. I want to thank you for subscribing, and we'll definitely look forward to seeing you on the next one. Cheers.